Hey there, it's Adrian over at the Sampleist, and today we are checking out Mosaic Neon from Heavyocity. Mosaic Neon is billed as reviving vintage synthesis by reimagining them in a new and innovative way. Neon is a complementary library to Heavyocity's existing stable of sounds and is a scoring tool that takes legendary synthesis techniques to shape them into iconic and emotional cues. The range of sounds touch on cinematic elements such as pads, rhythms, textures and arpeggios. The interface is laid out in an easy to understand fashion, allowing you to create your own soundscapes with ease. Mosaic Neon weighs in at 3.71 GB using Native Instruments lossless compression and is compatible with a full version of Kontakt and also the free Kontakt player version 6.7.1 or above. You will need at least 4 GB of memory, but 6 GB is recommended if you are creating sounds using the large sample set that this library provides. The library is priced at $119 but is currently on offer at $99. However, for those of you that have already purchased an instrument from the Mosaic series, there is an additional discount and you will find the voucher code in your account on the Heavyocity website. So let's hear what this library sounds like as we take a little tour through some of the patches. Let's take a quick tour of the interface. If you have already used any of the instruments in the Mosaic series from Heavyocity, you will instantly be familiar with the controls. So on the front screen you have the mixer section, which is the heartbeat of the actual sample library in the sense of it allows you to see at a glance what is actually happening. If you want to enable any of the parameters, all you need to do is hover your mouse over the actual name and just click. And it will turn white when you hover your mouse over, and then it goes blue once you've clicked. That says that is enabled. And you can alter the attack, decay, sustain and release of each particular sound, and alter the width, etc. And you also have an EQ section. So if we click on EQ, you can EQ each actual channel. So you have 3 channels in total, and each one can hold a particular set of samples. So if we look at filter, you have the ubiquitous low pass, high pass, band pass, peak and notch. And that allows you to shape the sound because you have your usual cutoff and resonance filters. You also have the ability to add a bit of saturation and distortion to the sound. And you also can gate the sound. So for instance, if I just mute, I'll just solo this channel, because you can either mute or solo channel. So if I solo this channel, there's no gate happening because this amount is down to nothing. But if I turn this amount up, or silly, to 100, so you can add a gate effect if you so wish. And then you can add a bit of reverb or delay on each layer as well. So, which is quite handy because sometimes you don't want a delay to be on the whole of the sound, but only on, say, one channel, which is great. You can actually do this on this particular library. I'll just go back to mixer second. Each patch will, as I said earlier, has 3 channels to play with, and you can change the sample set by just clicking Browse. And handily, Heavyocity have enabled the auto preview and auto load. So if I just click on a sound, you get a little demo of what it sounds like, which is very handy. You know what you're getting into. If you say, oh, I like that. There you go. That's there in the sample. The samples are loaded. And what you can do in the key mapping below is for each channel, you can select the range of the keyboard it actually plays on. So all you need to do is literally drag on the number and move it to where you want it. So you could actually have something like that. So layer 3 will sound from middle C up, layer 2 will sound from middle C down, and layer 1 will be across the whole keyboard. And what happens there is your keyboard at the bottom also sort of shows what's going on here as well, that there is a split going on. So that's really handy as a visual clue. And you can do that for all 3 channels. We then have the usual arpeggiator section. You can have an arpeggiator per channel, which is really handy, and not a lot of actual VST software synths have this. They usually have it with a whole synthesizer itself, the whole sound, rather than each individual channel. So this is a great addition, great feature. So you can have an arpeggiator on just one channel, whereas the other channels will still play the normal flat sound without actually doing the arpeggiations, which is so you can create your own soundscape quite easily that way. And then we've got the macro sequencer. Now what you can actually do, it's this particular knob here is your macro, and what you can do, you can program in so that as you play, the filter will either open or close. If I click it the other way, it will do it in version. If I do that, if we go that way, it will open it, and you can actually turn the macro sequencer on. So when you play, the filter opens and closes. So you can program your own little macros in, so the whole sound becomes alive very quickly and very easily. And then we're left with the master effects channel. This allows you to put the sound into mono, so you get the mono legato, good old mini Moog sound type, where it sort of like slides up and down if you play an octave apart. So for instance, if I go mono legato, I've still got the arpeggiator on. If I turn the arpeggiator off, and then what you need to do is turn the glide on. You can play around with the sound there. You can also use the good old punish. I do like this in Heavyocity's plugin. It has lots of saturation distortion to the sound. Can add delay. Got a master EQ for the whole of the 3 channels, and also add reverb to all 3 channels. So that's the interface in a nutshell. Very simple, very easy to follow and work out what signal flow is doing, and it allows you to very quickly sculpt your own sound. So let's see what it actually sounds like in a proper composition now. this composition, I was hoping to catch that sort of retro 80s ambient vibe, and I hope I've managed to do that. So let's have a quick look at actually what's actually going on here. We'll start off with the little sort of atmosphere intro, because that sets the scene for the whole track. And all I've got it done is the sound panned left and right. So one of the atmospheres is slightly to the left and one of them slightly to the right. And that sort of sets the theme for the whole track to sort of like kick off. And just unsolo these, and then what happens is we get the pads coming in. Solo those pads out. And just bring this instrument up. Get underwater flight on one of them. And the other one is playing the patch Big Love. Slightly panned, again, just to widen the soundscape. And all I'm playing around here is sort of the chords E minor, C for a little bit, and then intersperse it with, if I just move it on a bit, it goes into a D major chord and plays around with a few notes there, moving down to a B major chord before it circles back round to an E. E minor, that is. So we then have this wonderful little sequence playing over the top of it. If we go to this one, and we're playing running waves over this. And then if I turn the pads on, sort of straight away we've got a lovely atmosphere playing. Adds a bit of tension, a bit of sci-fi feel. And then we've got a very, very, very simple sort of lead melody playing here. I'll just go back to the lead section and we're just playing this. And we're using a lot sort of bells, FME type sounds, which this library does have in spades. So we're using echo chimer as one, and playing an octave lower and slightly quieting the volume spectrum, we're playing Timeless Mallet. And together with the pad, the sequence adds all that wonderful tension, but with a sort of like relaxed vibe to it. And this library doesn't have any drums as such, so what you can do is if you pitch bells right down the very far end of your keyboard, you can actually get a rhythm type track, and this is what I've done with Bells from Above. And what I've done is played octaves, as you can see in here. I've played octaves deep, low, down, and then picked up the pace of the sort of the beat. And then in the second half of this, I add, what did I add? I add sine waves, but what I did, I actually turned off channel 1 and 2 because I didn't want the melodic elements with it. I didn't want these elements. When it gets started, I didn't want those elements because that made it just too much. Because when you couple it with everything else, it wouldn't fit. I mean, the sound spectrum was already crowded in that area, and I didn't want any more in there to take away from the sort of like relaxed vibe of this. And then the final bit we actually have is a sequence coming on the second half when we repeat the melodic phrase through again. We're playing Obliviate. I should highlight that anything that actually says STR is straight, and anything in the library that says TRP means it's in triplets. So oh boy, what can I say about this library? This is yet another great addition to the ever-growing Heavyocity family. Everything they release is top quality both in sound and what it brings to the musician's toolbox and locker. The crisp recordings of vintage instruments allows you to shape the sound into your next cue, suitable for all genres of music. Mosaic Neon is in itself a work of art. If you have used any of the Mosaic instruments from Heavyocity, you will instantly be at home and familiar with the controls. For those new to this series, everything is very well laid out and has a logical flow to the signal path. As a self-confessed Heavyocity fan, I would heartily recommend that you pick up this library, particularly if you are after some fresh, new, vintage synth sounds in a modern setting. I would like to thank Heavyocity for sending across Mosaic Neon for a review. It is very much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel and visit thesampleist.com to see what we're all about. Until the next one.